Hi everyone, welcome to our video where we're going to show you a few of the ways you can use the Ontario Internet Access Map on the connectednorth.ca website to help you with some of the planning or decisions you may need to make in your work as it relates to virtual mental health care. So here we are on the Connected North site. We'll scroll down and you see the image of the map, and below that you see click here to launch the Ontario Internet Access Map. And here we have the interactive map. So let's explore how we can make use of it. By the way, the platform the map is built on allows users to access the map across almost any browser and any device, including smartphones. So for our first example, let's imagine you're a leader or a planner for a large healthcare organization who delivers mental health services. For this example, let's say you're in Sudbury. So I'll use my mouse wheel and zoom in a bit closer to Sudbury. I know that my organization in Sudbury has decent internet, and I can see that on the map by the color scheme. Each community in Ontario is shaded a color on a spectrum between blue and red. The more blue a community is, that means the majority of households in the community have access to fast download and upload speeds. The more red a community is, indicates that many households would have very limited or slow internet access. The legend in the top left panel breaks down this color coding for us. It shows the percentage of households that have access to 50 by 10 megabits per second internet. If you'd like to see a more detailed summary of a community's broadband access level, simply click anywhere inside the community's boundaries to pull up the community broadband summary, which you see here for Sudbury. We'll make sure to explain all of the numbers in this video, but the important ones for now are the 6 rows that show the percentage of households in that community with each level of internet access. So in Sudbury, it shows us that 93.4% of households have access to 50 by 10 internet, and a combined 6% from the other 5 remaining speed classes have less than 50 by 10. When we say 50 by 10, what that means is 50 megabits per second download and 10 megabits per second upload. The number 50 by 10 is an important speed threshold because the Government of Canada has identified this as the minimum service level they would like to see every Canadian connect to by 2025. The lower these speed thresholds are, the lower you can expect internet performance to be. If your download speed is below 5 megabits per second, streaming video content may be poor quality or it may buffer a lot during the stream. Or if you're downloading large email attachments, it may take a long time. And if a single internet connection is divided by multiple people using the internet at the same time, that may cause even slower speeds. So the second number represents the upload speed. Up until recently, very little attention was given to upload speeds, but this has changed now, especially because of COVID-19 and the rise in popularity of virtual conferencing, where both download and upload speeds are important. If an internet package has decent download speeds, it means downloading and streaming content may be fine. But if that same package has upload speeds that are very low or are inconsistent, it may be difficult for a person to participate in video conferencing because there may be lags, freezes, or delays, which can interrupt the natural flow of a real-time conversation. So going back to Sudbury as our example, we know that almost 94% of households can access 50 megabits per second download speeds and 10 megabits per second upload speeds. In other words, about 94% of the community has fast enough internet to be able to access mental health services delivered virtually, and 6% do not. So for most people who live and work directly in Sudbury, good internet access isn't a major problem. But maybe my organization is responsible for delivering mental health services out to a vast catchment area, which includes some more rural and remote communities, and I need to know if those communities have the level of internet connectivity that would be needed to provide mental health therapy over video conference, for example. Here's how I would use the map to figure out the level of connectivity in the smaller communities that I have to deliver services to. Here you see a row of icons in the top left corner of the map. I'm going to select this one, which allows me to create a chart. That gives us a list of options to create a graph or a chart. I want to summarize a number of communities, so I'm going to select the top option, which is Community Region Level Summaries. Click on the box that says Use Spatial Filter to limit features. Next, I will select this shape tool, which I use to draw the boundaries for my catchment area where I'm delivering these virtual mental health services. Now click on Apply to apply the spatial filter, and this will generate a chart that will summarize the number of households that have access to the various speed thresholds. I can increase the size like this, And we see that because our catchment area includes delivering services to more rural and remote communities, we can see that the number of homes that have poorer internet service has grown somewhat. When we looked at Sudbury, we saw that around 94% of households had access to 50 by 10, and now that we've included the surrounding area, we see that has gone down to 84%. The next largest category here, which represents about 10% of the population, has access to 10 megabits per second down and 2 megabits per second up. And here, we see that there are 3,200 homes, or 3.7%, who have little to no access to high-speed internet, unless it's a custom service or a more expensive service, so they would pay more than a household in an urban community would pay. Communities or areas with low access levels would not be conducive to a therapy session over video call because the video and voice quality would be poor, which could be frustrating for the patients and the providers. So for those areas, I now know that I'll need to come up with alternate arrangements to accommodate the lack of internet connectivity. So maybe that'll mean using telephone or making arrangements for them to go to an OTN-equipped office in their community or sending providers in person to these communities. But I now know that virtual care in the form of one-on-one video calls with the person in their home will not be a viable option for this area, and I'll need to address that somehow to make sure residents have equitable access to these mental health services. I can also take information from this map in table form and export it into an Excel file so that I can refer back to it and use it in any of my planning or reporting later. Down at the bottom of the map window is a small upward pointing arrow. Clicking on the arrow opens the attribute table for all the communities that are visible in the map window. If the map is zoomed closer to a group of communities, the table can filter results based only on those within the window. To export your table, simply click the Option tab and click Export All to CSV. A window will pop up confirming this selection. Click OK, and the file will open in Excel or your default spreadsheet software. Now let's explore a slightly different scenario for how we could put this map to use. For this scenario, let's imagine an organization that provides mental health services in a smaller community, let's say Red Lake for this example, and I want to apply for a funding opportunity or make an investment in a digital or e-mental health tool to expand mental health care options for people, but maybe the digital tool I'm interested in requires a basic level of internet connectivity to support the core functions of the tool. I would want to know if this tool is logistically possible in my community and will it be useful to the people I'm serving given the internet situation where they live. So I can find that out here. Up at the top, I click the magnifying glass, which is the search function. I'd search by community, in this case Red Lake. Click on Red Lake, and as the map pans and zooms into Red Lake, I can see by the color theme, as well as the pop-up display, that the community has okay but not great internet connectivity. Another really useful feature of the map is that the closer the map is zoomed, the more detailed and granular the information becomes. So the 574 municipalities and First Nations throughout the province break down into 133,000 neighborhood units when you zoom in. So in Red Lake, we can see 3 distinct populated areas, and we can zoom in to see the smaller neighborhood blocks. And the color theme shows us that they have better internet service than the larger surrounding rural areas we see here in red. So if I were a service provider, I could customize care plans for my patients to suit the internet access of the individual based on where they live. I would know that if my patient lived in this neighborhood, for example, connecting with them over video conference or recommending an e-mental health tool likely wouldn't be very useful to them. But if I have a patient who lived in a better serviced area like this one, then virtual mental health care would be a reasonable option to consider as part of their care plan. And again, if any of this data would be useful to support applications for funding or to help communicate disparities in internet access for rural and remote communities or priority populations, we've already learned how to extract that information into Excel to use for your reports. For our last example, let's imagine we're involved in planning at a regional or a provincial level. Maybe I'm on a project team helping roll out a mental health program or service, and a component of my program requires care to be delivered virtually. So I can already see by the amount of red on this map that there are a lot of areas across the province that have suboptimal internet connectivity. But if I want to see that data in a table to support planning on how to reach priority populations in areas with poor internet connectivity, I can simply pull up a list of Ontario communities like this. Now we've already learned that the table can be exported directly into Excel. If you wish to export the entire province, just make sure that every community is visible in your map window before opening the table, or else some communities may be left out accidentally. The map also provides some more advanced filter options. With the table loaded, select Options, and then Filter. Here we can filter by one or more expressions. So let's say we're looking to identify communities with high populations but low connectivity. Here's one way to do that. I can first identify communities with more than 10,000 people. Now I want to see how many of those communities have less than 50% access rates to 50 by 10 internet speeds. The table will update and shows us 19 communities that fit those criteria. This table can be exported to Excel. Also, if I minimize the table, now we can visually identify where those communities are on the map. So these were just some quick examples. We hope you found this helpful, and if you have information needs that may be a little more complicated than these basic functions, please reach out and we can help you extract that information. Thanks for watching.